An emotional goodbye as the family flees from their home and community of more than 40 years in a small northern Mexico town. They fear for their lives over there after the ambush and massacre of 3 women and 6 children. News specialist Dan Rascon was in Lamora last week and now has this exclusive video as the family said its final goodbye.
The sound of sobbing as Lindsay Langford says goodbye to her home of more than 20 years. Located in the small town of Lamora, Mexico, about 90 miles from the Arizona border, a community devastated by the slaughter of 3 mothers and 6 children last week, forcing most of the community to now flee in fear. For Lindsay Langford and her sister Lacey,
it was very, very hard for us. It was overwhelming.
It meant leaving behind thousands of dollars worth of property and a place with years of memories.
I'm just sobbing in the video, and I'm just walking through my house and seeing everything that's just special to us. So we had a beautiful home.
But the Langfords, who lost a mother and 2 siblings, say they had no other choice.
I think it was just the fear within us and the realization that we truly aren't safe. If women and children can be killed like that so brutally for absolute no reason, then we are not safe in Mexico.
But Kenny Miller, who lost a daughter-in-law and 4 grandchildren, he's not going anywhere.
Are you leaving or are you staying?
I'm staying.
Miller says he can't leave a home of nearly 50 years.
As far as I'm concerned, this is the most secure place in the country of Mexico right now. They got National Guard here. They got the Army here. They have the federal police here.
So you have a lot of different views there from the people that are living there. To take us behind the scenes, of course, Dan Rascon's here, and I don't know, what was your impression after you came back and you saw these families leaving?
Well, first of all, this is an incredible story. It's obviously a worldwide story. You've got 3 women, 6 children just brutally murdered and slaughtered right there on the small dirt road. So when you hear about that and then you hear you're going there, you know, you get a little worried, first of all, because of the Mexican cartel. They don't mess around. And so these are very dangerous places, very dangerous areas. But we decided to capture this story because it has a lot of connections to Utah. So we went down there from Douglas, Arizona. From Douglas, Arizona, it's only about 90 miles or so, 80 or 90 miles south of the border from Douglas, Arizona. But it took us, the first time we went down there, took us literally 5 hours on this dirt road to get there because we were going 5 to 10 miles an hour. We also, our crew, another crew that we were with, we were falling behind, they slid off the road, and so we lost about an hour or so. So basically it's about 3.5, 4 hours just to get there itself. But once we were there, that shows you kind of where they were sliding off the road. That was the car that kind of slid off the road. But we're going down this treacherous road that took forever. We fortunately had a tractor come and pull us out of there, or pull that crew out of there. But you could see how scary it was for this crew. They almost flipped the car and everything like that, getting out of there. But once we got into Lamora, there were a lot of military officers there. It looked almost kind of like it was under siege with the military. So a lot of military, as you could see here, this is what we kind of saw as you pull up. They had their guns drawn, everybody ready, and they were checking everybody in. So once we were there, we felt pretty safe because you had the military and you also had a lot of press covering this event. Yeah,
well, was the spot where it happened, was that on the way?
Yeah, the spot where it actually happened is just outside of Lamora, and it was one of the places where the car was burned. There was a couple different locations, but where the car was burned, we went to that location. I stood right there where the car was set on fire, where the family was shot. And it's basically a dirt road on your way to Chihuahua. So you had Sonora and also the state of Chihuahua, and they were going to Chihuahua, some of the family members, to be able to go visit. There was a wedding and some other events. And so they were leaving in a caravan of 3 Suburbans with a total of, I think, 14 kids and 3 moms. And so all the moms were killed, and then 6 of the 14 kids were killed.
Yeah. What was that like? I mean, for you to be right there in that spot, and I guess even before you saw the military in the town, you're in that spot where this all happened, where you know that, you know, this is kind of cartel territory.
Yeah, and that's what's freaky is to think of, but you're really out in the middle of nowhere. You look like you're in Arizona or something like that, out in the desert. And you've got some hills and that kind of thing, but it's very, you got the brush, the sagebrush, the dirt roads, it's hot, it's kind of a little bit windy, but it was pretty sobering to see that this was the actual site where kids and women and children lost their lives. And not only lost their lives, but they were slaughtered. I mean, they were literally just brutally murdered. And it's just really a sad, sad situation. But the town of Lemoore itself looks like you're in America. I mean, you're basically there, and it doesn't have any indications. We went to another little town, Bavispa, just out of Lemoore, and that has your typical traditional little Mexican town.
Right.
But this was more very nice homes, very nice, well-manicured lawns, trees, flowers, everything like that. And so it didn't even appear, and everybody there spoke English, and everybody there was white. And so it really just kind of had that image like you were just in a part of America.
Yeah. Give us an idea, I mean, how big that town was, because we know at least, was it 100 did I hear, about 100 of them left?
Right,
like,
yeah, they had a huge caravan after all the funerals were done with. But it's a town of about 31 homes and about 300 people or so. But hundreds of people from all over came there while we were there during the funeral. So they had several funerals over several days. But as soon as the funerals were over, then they basically, many of them did a mass exodus. You heard the story just a minute ago where I talked to some of those folks that left. Another guy that I talked to said, I'm not going anywhere. I've been here for 50 years. I'm going to stay here. Yeah. But many of them are scared. They're not sure. Once they feel safe right now because the military is all there.
Sure, yeah.
But once the military leaves, what happens next? But what was sad, as you saw in the video, they're leaving behind furniture, tens of thousands of dollars in property.
Furnished.
I mean, fully furnished, beautiful homes that they're leaving behind. And it was really sad to see that.
What's next for them?
Well, that's a question. That's a good question because they don't know what's next. They don't know where they're going to live next. They don't know where they're going to go. Right now, one of the families we spoke with is living in an Airbnb in Tucson that somebody's donating to them for the next couple of weeks. And then after that, they've got to decide where they're going to go.
Oh, man.
So really sad situation.
Yeah, what a story for them. So we appreciate you braving it down there and bringing us the story.
I know this station, we went off the grid for like 5 hours, and I know the station got a little worried, but we made it back okay.
Yeah, all right. Well, we're glad you're back.
All right,
thanks, Dan.